Well, hello. It's a little late at night, but figured I'd get on here anyway and say, hey, what the hell's going on, and all that good jazz. While I wait for a few people to come in. Hey, what's up, Steven? How the heck are you? How's life over in the California? Wife brought me home some lemonade from work. It's pretty flipping good. I haven't had lemonade in forever. I am fantastic. If it was any better, I wouldn't know what to do with myself. Well, all our friends up north, up in the Midwest, are getting smacked by a. Well, these freaking glasses are about to kick my ass. Hey, what's going on, Ice? I can't see with them, and I can't see with them without them. Pain in the butt. Yeah, friends up in the Northeast are getting smacked. I don't know if Jerry will pop on there or not, but he's in Indiana. Yeah, Indiana. Around Indianapolis. He was saying it was pretty cold up there. He had a whole heater out in his garage. He was doing some projects. But yeah, my mom said it was pretty cold up there too. I know my hair looks a mess, but I really don't care. I've been kind of laying around this afternoon. I went to the shop to work on Charlie. Let's get off that sugar. I believe it or not, I haven't had any lately. But yeah, I went up to the shop to work on Charlie today, try to get my old Sable running, and I knew it needed a fuel pump, so I struggled getting the lines broke loose, but it had been sitting for a while, and I could smell it as soon as I pulled one of the lines off for the tank, and it smelled like turpentine. I'm like, oh great. So I went ahead and pulled it the rest of the way out and pulled the sending unit out of the tank. And lo and behold, the whole bottom of the tank's full of rust. Imagine that. Thank you, ethanol fuel. If that would have had just regular, no ethanol fuel in it, wouldn't have had that problem. That's why I tell people if they're going to leave their car sit for some period of time to put no ethanol fuel in it. Try to get as much of that out of there as I can, because it's the alcohol that's in ethanol, or the ethanol basically, is highly corrosive. Excuse me. I know it's in small amounts, like the E10, which is 10% ethanol. It's not supposed to be hazardous to most vehicles, but those older cars that really weren't made for it sits. What's up, Brian? When it sits like that, it'll just eat the crap out of anything it touches. So, oh, that's good lemonade. So, yeah, I had to order a fuel tank for that today. kind of doesn't make sense to put a bunch of money in a car that I'm just going to turn around and sell, but I can't consciously sell anybody a car that I've owned that's not going to be safe and up to snuff as much as I can. I just can't do it. You know, be honest with you, Brian, I've been browsing around on the old marketplace and just seeing what's out there, and I forgot all about it, to be honest with you. That, and I've been watching football. I like watching the NFL. You know, no matter what their stance on things are, I still like watching it. And can't believe my boys, the Chiefs, pulled it off. Man, they were looking pretty crappy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can't believe they pulled it off. I was beginning to wonder. They looked like they didn't show up to play. But they ended up winning 28-24. The Cowgirls just won. I don't think the score was, I don't remember what the score was on it, but I know they won. I didn't pay that much attention to it, but yeah, I was just watching some football. But so what's new with y'all out there in YouTube land? How's everybody been doing? I know the weather down here has been pretty decent for the most part. Promexed? I was going to say it's probably meant project. I got a lot of them projects around here I got to get done. But yeah, I got some things I'm working towards here the first of the year. I think I'm finally going to cut my garage door in my shop. I think I'm going to finally order the garage door, get it coming, and then when it gets close, I'll cut the opening, so I'll actually have somewhere I can pull one of my cars in to work on it. Be out of the sun, actually have a breeze. It's a hell of a concept. On the trailer, I called them. Actually, the insurance agent hollered at me, wanted to know what was going on because I got them involved because they were the last ones to repair the roof. So, anyway, they called me Friday, so I called Camping World to find out, and they said from Dicor, which is the manufacturer of the roof, it's still under review. So it's not a yes, it's not a no. So I'm still kind of in hurry up and wait mode. Cold as balls, huh? Last time I knew, balls weren't really cold unless they've been in the freezer. just a poor joke, a poor attempt at a joke. Yeah, so I'm in wait mode, still waiting on them to make a decision what they're going to do. I wish they'd hurry up. Be nice to, if they decide to fix it, to get it done before the rainy season starts again. Granted, that's still a few months off, but usually when it starts, it comes down. So maybe I can get a carport or something set up to where where it won't get damaged as bad. or at least get it out of the weather. Yeah, I'm in. It was kind of chilly this morning here. Excuse me, for Florida, but I wore a thermal most of the day. Um, but it got, I don't know, it may have got low 60s here. So, any rate, I've heard. I still can't believe they came up with that. That was the stupid excuse I've ever heard. You know, it's just our illustrious so-called leader in this speech the other day talking about jobs. I put on there, it says, I call BS. It ain't as good as you think it is, dude. I don't know where you're getting your numbers from. Out of a Cracker Jack box. Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. My wife said my mom called the other day and she was talking to my wife, and my wife goes, "I don't miss that one bit." I had somebody else ask me about that, unless you're the same one that asked me about that in a comment. But that pass through connector, you can replace that pass through connector. It's got an O-ring on the outside, and you should be able to get the little pass through deal itself. It just slides in the case. Um, More than likely, you'll have to drop the pan, but you can get to it from, I think it comes from the inside of the pan, and it locks in there. But you can replace that. Um, but sometimes if you replace just the O-ring on the outside of it, uh, it will still leak, because what happens is that plastic pass-through piece that it's got gets brittle, and it'll actually wick through the plastic around the terminal and come out there, and then it leaks there. They were all notorious for that. I had an old '69 Bonneville. It was my first car, and it had a 400 turbo in it, and it leaked in the same spot. Excuse me. I never fixed it because the whole car leaked. So I wish I had that car again. It was ugly as sin, but man, I loved that car. That was a fun car. It had the 428 in it, which was the biggest engine that Pontiac made at the time. I don't know if you all know about Pontiacs. Yeah, I've got some. I've looked into that 4L79 drum kit, and that's pretty neat setup. Um, I haven't built one for anybody lately, so, and what I build for myself isn't going to be strong enough to really need any of that. I mean, I'm putting twin turbos on it or something like that, and looking for 1,000 wheel horsepower. I'm not into that. I mean, to me, that's not. It's cool and all, but there's not a whole lot of places that you can legally put that kind of power down on the street. And down here, there's a lot of sand, and you get in a certain spot, you're going to have the back end coming out from under you slicker, and you can grab a hold of it. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I just want to make a daily out of Scarlet, that I can drive and enjoy, and it doesn't have to be stupid powerful. I mean, it's just something that I liked the cars. The cars were fun to drive. Um, I had an 82 Trans Am, I had the 87 GTA, I had the 91 Formula, and all those cars were a blast to drive. The 91 Formula by far was the least powerful of all of them. I mean, it helped when I changed the cam and changed the rear end, and but it was still a turtle body injected 5 liter. But for the most, it didn't run bad. I mean, for a 5 liter, it'd still pull off a 15.1 quarter mile, which was better than the 17.3 it was when I got it. Um, I attribute that to the cam change, different chip, and the rear end gear. It had a 273 in it from the factory, and I put a 342 in it. It made such a difference. But I'm getting real anxious to try to get something rolling, but like I said, funds are limited. So nice. I'm still trying to figure out which way I want to go with um, a controller for Scarlet, because I want to be able to do my own programming, or be able to do it simply versus doing a chip. Because I watched L to the W struggle with his, and man, it took him. Oh, I'd say it was maybe 6 to 8 months back and forth, trying to get his pretty close, and he's still having trouble getting the wideband to read. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with the limitations of that ECM. I don't know. I mean, I'm not that big of a guru in it. I mean, I understand it, and there's guys out there that know a whole lot more about them than I do. Um, but I just think it'd be, if I could find. I mean, there's a way that I can make a later model ECU and harness work on an old style 350. Well, I mean, I can. I'm still kind of up in shambles which transmission I want to go with, because I've got three choices. Well, I've got actually way more than that, but I actually have four choices, to be technical with you right now, which way I could go. But two of the choices, I could use the factory ECU, but I'd still have problems with getting a chip programmed. Not really a problem. It's just bigger pain in the butt. Um, and then the other way is, I could have, a later model do a 6L80, or depending on what ECU I get, like an E36 or something like that, I could use an 8L90 or a 10L90, which that would be cool. But my deal is I kind of want to keep it nostalgic, and I still want to run the tune port. I just I think that's what belongs in the car. I mean, now don't get me wrong. I've seen a lot of guys with some really nice LS motors, um, that they've put in these cars, but then I see all the hassles that they have to go through sometimes to get them damn things to fit in there. And to me, that's just not worth it. And I just think the reliability of just a naturally aspirated engine to me is just kind of music. But Brian, I still got my 700, so Q Slider on yours. Yes, the pump should be the same between an 88 and a 91 because they changed in 87. They started using auxiliary valve bodies. So those pumps should be the same between the 2 years, and the input housings are identical. They're a 298 millimeter input housing. And Brian, that's probably the way I'm going to go for now, just to get her back on the road, because I'm more anxious to get it on the road right now than anything. I just, I wish things would slow down enough to where I could actually get to where I'm doing. I'm trying to get some videos out for you guys. I've got one on deck. I got to get uploaded, and I've probably got 7 or 8 more that I got to edit. I've been recording. I just haven't had time to sit down and edit because that takes as much time. Excuse me. But I've been trying to remember to pick up the camera more when I'm doing stuff, just so you guys can see it. And some projects that I got here. And you are more than welcome, Slider. Yeah, those transmissions, the 88 and the 91s are identical, really, to speak of, other than maybe just some slight valve body changes. But other than that, everything in the barrel is the same. The pumps are the same. They should all, 88 and 91 would both have a 10 vein pump from the factory. That's correct, Brian. They are. No, it wasn't. Like I said, I've got a follow-up video that I'm going to put up for tomorrow. I actually said wrong when I put that video out, because I pointed out the stator support seals had failed, and that caused the burn up of the 3.4, and that's not the case. And like I explained in the last video and as this follow-up video, that's not what caused the 3.4 to fail. What caused the 3.4 to fail was the fact that the clutch pack that I put in there was an 8 clutch pack, which means that the fibers and the steels are much thinner than factory ones are. And this truck is not stock, and it is heavy. It is a truck, and this transmission is not stock. And so after going through the thing and checking the number 7 capsule and making sure that it wasn't leaking there, and the accumulator wasn't leaking and any of that, the input housing was tight. The seal, it wasn't leaking through any of the pistons and any of the check balls. It was all fine there. What I attributed it to is that the clutch pack couldn't handle the power that he was putting in it, and that transmission's got, I think, 20. I think he had like 20 to 30,000 miles on it, and he's beat on that truck. I mean, that truck is nowhere near stock. He used to race it all the time, but like after I fixed it the last time, he left my house and it was on the floor. It was just it's it's had it gets used. The rest of the transmission looked fantastic on the inside. I was tickled to death with how clean it was and how everything looked. I mean, the only thing that was burnt was the 3/4 clutch, and it was coned, which means those clutches got really hot. And of course, it puts all the friction on the outer edges. So when I went back with it this last time, I put a Z pack in it because I've had no trouble out of a Z pack that I've put in slightly modified transmissions, not full on bore where they're putting turbo or nitrous to it or nothing like that. I would go far better. I would do probably the 4L79 drum or something like that. Yeah, that's a good point because of the way the metal expands. Right. You're right. The only way I can think to do that is, you know, warm it up with a torch. I don't know. I mean, half the time I won't get this transmission. If I get the transmission back again, it won't be hot when I get it. By that time, it'll be all completely cooled off. But I see where you're going with that. Oh, sure. But again, I checked it around the input shaft where the input shaft meets the drum because I've seen them leak there before. Yeah, I don't have a parts washer here. I do at the shop that I use there. The one at the shop, I just take all the parts up there and I put them in the washer up there. Um, I've been looking for a good parts washer that I could put here at the house. Um, haven't had much luck, and I'm trying to figure out where I would put it because once I cut the hole in the wall so I can put my door back in and I can get a car in there, I'm going to lose quite a bit of room. And I've got a bunch of shelving in there. The shelving may end up going back in the house somewhere. I don't know yet, but I'll have to figure out some way to get it all in there because I missed out. Man, I was so mad. I've been looking on Marketplace for a shop press, a good shop press. And if you get one of them Chinese made ones at Harbor Freight, uh, I can't believe that all of the money that the shop makes up where I'm at, and they have a Harbor Freight one there, and the thing, it's it's way too small for what we do. It the space in between the press plate is too narrow. Sometimes you can't get like if you're working on a ring and pin, you can't get the butt of the thing down in there to the right point where you can get your bearings pressed on and so on and so forth. But um, I missed out on one that was air over hydraulic. The guy wanted $400 for it, and it was a big one. It would had a 20-ton ram on it, but it had the wide mouth on it, which would have been great. And I missed it because it sold so fast. But I've been looking for some shop equipment for my little shop out there to update it. If I could get a couple of stuff and get a good parts washer and stuff like that, I'd probably start doing transmissions more on the side. Because I'm still kind of looking for an out. Um, Yeah, you should have seen me trying to use this Harbor Freight, putting that TR6070 together that I had to do for that vet. Oh my God, dude. If you guys have ever done a TR6070, uh, here's my hands. The freaking input shaft is probably, I don't know, it's a good 2.5, 3 foot long. It's stupid ridiculous how long that thing is. And you almost have to press every other thing on there. I mean, it's a pain in the can. All to put some synchronizers, blockers in it, which not sure that it's going to fix it, but we'll let the customer drive it for a little bit and see what happens. I mean, I checked everything else on it, and it's the only thing I could think of. Here's a design flaw on that transmission. The hell is that? What are you doing under there, Yoda? Yoda. What are you doing under there? Yeah. Sorry about that. Oh yeah, that's Foxy. That's the ornery little shit. Yeah, the other one's sitting on the chair underneath the table, and we got kind of like kind of like it's kind of like a vinyl seat covering that's perforated. And I was like, "What the hell is that noise?" And I didn't realize that she was under there, and she was licking the top of the chair. And of course, cats' tongues are like sandpaper. So anyway, so yeah, the TR6060, and I'm sure the 60s or the 6070, and I'm sure the 6060 is the same way. The blocker rings on those things are way undersized for that transmission. Um, they are tiny, tiny, tiny. I'm used to my old Super T10s and the T5 even has bigger blocker rings than this thing had on it. It's just crazy. The T56 did too, but I don't know why they decided to use such a small blocker ring on these. And on first and second blockers, they got double friction material on them. They've got a brass blocker, and then they've got another ring that's got fiber on it. So it's got like double kill on the blocker, and they still don't work that good. But yeah, I'm not afraid to say that was the first TR6070 I've ever had to do. I've done T56s, and I did T5s back when they were popular. Well, some people never thought they were popular. Of course, if you beat the crap out of anything, it's not going to last. But I can remember my Super T10 that I had in my 82 Trans Am, and that thing just shifted like butter. I mean, it was so nice. I mean, it was just like fingertip into gears. I mean, it just went right in. Beautiful transmission. Yeah, yeah, You know what I'm talking about. The T56s are kind of a pain in the can too, but uh, I posted a picture on Instagram when I had this T56 apart, and speaking of purist, found a guy on Marketplace that's got a tune port for sale, the whole engine. I just asked him if it had a harness with it. He said, no, somebody butchered the harness up. I was like, well, damn. That's all right. I really don't need the harness. I've got another harness in ECM, but I just figured if it came with it. Anyway, back to my transmission thing. I'm gonna see if I can get a picture for you. I took a picture of this thing. It says, I think I'd much rather have my automatics after dealing with this thing. It's just crazy, all the stupid pieces. I mean, here you go. Look at this. Let it get in focus here. That's a TR6070. It's crazy, all the pieces. Why do you need 7 manual gears? I don't get it. And if you look at the very bottom of that picture, those are the actual detent spring assemblies. They're like a plastic capsule with a ball in it and a little spring. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I mean, you can see behind that main shaft how small those blockers are. It's ridiculous. Oh, I'd do a Muncie in a heartbeat. Dude, those things are, compared to these new ones, those are great. I mean, the pieces aren't that small on those. Those are actually decent size, Well, Juan, I don't know what I did, but you're welcome. So, but yeah, I had that automatic part, and I had that transmission part. And I was like, well, yes, they are. Everybody squawks. How do you do one of those automatics that got all those clutches and all those little pieces in it? It says if you had a manual transmission apart, they got more pieces in those. That's crazy. They got this one section on there that takes it's got a washer that sits down on the shaft with like a half moon cut out of it, and then there's a dimple in the main shaft, and it takes a check ball goes there that's like smaller than a BB. And of course, having that thing apart as long as I did, of course, that thing disappeared. I had to order one of them, and the parts guys kept giving me crap. Don't lose this one. And it just came in a little bag. And I mean, it was so tiny, it was dumb, but hey, I was happy when it went back together. It worked. The transmission was quiet, so I figured that was a win. That's the only advantage from a manual transmission. You can check to make sure you got all your gears before it goes back in the car. So, but hopefully I don't have to do one of them again for a while because they're a pain in the can. But anyway, one of these days I'm gonna get that. I've got a get my chair moved up here. One of these days I'm gonna do that 6L80 for you guys and get it posted up here on the channel. But like I said, I've had so much going on. The one thing that there is probably, excuse me, better support for the 6L80 in the aftermarket than there is from the factory. Like if you get one of, there's two drums on a I guess you'd call them, you could call them sun shells, but there's two sun shells on a 6L80, and there's bushings at the top of one of them. And the thing about GM is if you get one that the bushings are wore out on it, you can't replace just the bushing. You have to replace the whole assembly. And so that just runs the price up. You can't buy just, GM will not sell just bushings for it. So say you get one in that the tail house or the output shaft bushing is bad, and it's the one that's pressed in the case. Well, guess what? You can't get that bushing. You have to buy a case. I had to do that on a Tahoe I was chasing down a noise. Brian, it is on the 6L80, but on a 6L90, it's huge. It's got the 6L90, if I remember right, it's got 2 more clutches in it. It's a pretty good sized clutch. But one thing you got to remember about that transmission has no less than 2 clutches applied at the same time. So, like if you get the 4, 5, 6 clutch, you're going to have, when you're in 4th gear, you're going to have the 1, 2, 3, 4 clutch applied and the 4, 5, 6 clutch applied. So it distributes that torque between multiple clutches. So 5th gear, you're going to have the 4, 5, 6 clutch applied, and then you're going to have your 3, 5 reverse clutch applied, which the 3, 5 reverse clutch is pretty big. I mean, it's as big, if not, let's see, it's bigger than the 1, 2, 3, 4 clutch. Same way with 6th. If you're in 6th gear, you're going to have that 4, 5, 6 clutch applied. You're going to have the 2, 6. The 2, 6 clutch applied, which the 2, 6 clutch is down in the center support on a 6L80. So that was what they started to do when they come up with these multiple gear transmissions. Well, more than just 4 gears. Right. You get the 1, 2, 3, 4 in the bottom of that housing. But yeah, it's a good sized clutch. So the 8L90 is the same way. You have multiple clutches applied at the same time. The 10L90 is no different. The 10L90, that is a strange duck. The way they got everything, the way they make everything work on that transmission, it is so wild. You basically take the whole assembly out of the case as a unit, and then you flip it over and you take a snap ring out. Then the outer sun shell comes out. Then you start taking the inner pieces out. It's a strange transmission. But Ray Bestis has released Z-Packs for the 6L80. And they do it on the 4, 5, 6 clutch and one other. I can't remember if it's the I don't know if it was the 1, 2, 3, 4, or if it was a 3, 5 reverse that they did the other Z-Pack on, but I don't know if I can look that up or not. GM. $6L80. Okay. They have a Z pack for the 456. And the 3.5 reverse. You can also buy them in a kit with both of them in there. Looks like you can buy the Raybestos blue plates for them also. Which that's pretty cool. Steel clutch pack module. Used with RPZ 026. I don't know what that one is, but oh, duh. That's just the steels. Apparently you can buy the steel packs all in them. Yeah, they've got all sorts of stuff. They got the GPZ clutches for the 2.6. So you can put some Helfer stout clutches in these from Raybestos. I know what they use from the factory on. They got blue. They got the blue plates available. You've seen me use blue plates on L to the W's. I put blue plates in his. But from the factory, GM uses Borg Warner clutches. So, oh boy, I don't know why that turned to green. See if that helps any. What's up, Michael? Yes, Brian, you are correct. That is what fails on them, and it cooks the torque converter. That is the problem on that particular transmission. It almost always the torque converter will fail because of that PWM on the torque converter clutch. It smokes the clutch, sends the crap into the pan, plugs up the filter, starves it for oil, then the pump takes the pump out, then takes the rest of it out. It's a catastrophic failure. They're known for that. And if you don't correct it when you do a rebuild, it'll do the same crap again. They've had problems where that valve in the pump itself will start fluttering. The bore will get worn out, and then you lose the pressure to the torque converter. GM, they won't let you do any kind of upgrades or aftermarket kind of crap on those on the 6Ls. You basically have to put them back to stock, which generally when I have to do one, torque converter gets replaced, bell housing, pump cover, new pump kit. Usually it's a number 2. There's 3 different thicknesses. Usually it's a number 2, gets me with my clearance where I need to be on it. Um, and then, usually I'll go completely through the 4, 5, 6 clutch with a new dam piston because usually it just smokes that one altogether. The 1, 2, 3, 4 will usually be burn up, so I'll put frictions and steels in that. If the transmission's bad enough or it's got enough miles on it, I'll put all the frictions in it, just to make sure I don't have to see it again. Of course, I check the sprag and it doesn't. It's never hurt. I've never seen one of those blown up. Well, I can't say that. I had a guy that drove a 6L90 till it wouldn't drive anymore, and it tore the crap out of that transmission. The planetary set and everything. I mean, it was done. But I don't put if the Tecum is not damaged, especially right now, because you can't hardly get a Tecum from GM. Now I don't know if that in case from aftermarket, but usually if the transmission will shift and go through all the gears and it just sets a PO 746, which is usually what it sets. If the Tecum's not damaged, then I will reuse the Tecum. Just clean it up. Because I look at it this way: if it doesn't work after I'm done with it, and the Tecum is at fault, I can do that while it's still on the truck. But 9 times out of 10, I won't replace that. Mainly because GM doesn't want you to replace it. If it's not bad, they can actually kick back a claim if they get it back and they say, "Oh, well, there's nothing wrong with this. Why did you replace it?" They're kind of stringent on that stuff. Unfortunately, you can't just replace something without a cause. You just can't. Now, certain ones you'll figure out some way to get around it, but that abso-freaking-lutely, it's a whole lot different. And if I was going to build one for somebody and build one of them out of the house, yeah, I would put a Tecum in it and then tell them, look, you have to have this programmed. Because if they were put this in a vehicle, say they brought it to me and they brought me a used one or something like that. They wanted me to go through it and put it back in. Well, here's the thing. If it's programmed, you could run into some issues. If it's not programmed, it has a default program in it that will allow it to work. But by nature, that transmission, without a program in it, will have reverse and third gear only. It's done hydraulically. So, but yeah, I do things a lot different here at my little shop than I would if I was at the dealership. A lot of times my boss doesn't like the way I do it there at the shop, but I can actually say and boast about the fact that I don't have comebacks, and I'm proud of that fact. I may take a little bit longer to do one, but I want to make sure it's right because I don't want to see it again. Excuse me. It's just like this Duramax that I've got that I'm working on right now. I don't mind Duramaxes, but this thing's an 06 and it's got 350,000 miles on it. The guy diagnosed his own problem with his transmission. His transmission went out of his truck. And it's an Allison. Allisons don't usually fail. They just don't. They'll fail, but behind engines that are highly modified um, that guys turn them up and put massive turbos on them and creating a lot of torque, that's when they fail. But in their stock application, they don't fail. They really don't. They've got to have something else that causes them to fail. Anyway, so this guy come in, he said, I want a new transmission in my truck. Okay. We'll put a transmission in the truck. We'll get it in there, get it up in there. Oh, look, it's got a coolant leak. And look where it's coming from. It's coming from the flywheel housing. Fantastic. I've done these, but it's been the last one of those flywheel housings I did was back in 03. So almost 20 years ago. So I knew what the process was and what kind of a deal it is. Not that big a deal. But oh, hey, look, guess what? The transfer case is leaking too. It's leaking at the case halves and the output shaft seal. Okay. Oh, hey, look, guess what? The rear pinion seal is leaking like a sieve. Yeah. Oh, hey, guess what? The power steering hoses are leaking too. And it's a good idea to replace all that stuff. And I told the guys, says, if we're going to do the transmission, we ought to do that flywheel housing. Well, I'd forgotten how bad those flywheel housings are on those Duramaxes. You have to take the upper pan off, oil pan, to get that flywheel housing off because they put 2 dowel pins in the back of it that line up, that hold that flywheel housing in place. Well, it doesn't really hold it in place, but it lines everything up. So that turned into a major fiasco. He went for all of it. He replaced every bit of it. Get the transmission in, get it fired up. Boom, check engine light. Awesome. Pull the codes. It's got a transmission range pressure sensor 4, low voltage. Okay. So I look at the data and it's high, low, low, low. And I'm like, okay, well, that's usually what it's supposed to do. So you go through the flow chart and you check the thing. I ended up dropping the pan, pulled the switch off, pressed it by hand and watched it change on the scan tool. I was like, well, okay, it's doing what it needs to. So put it back in, filled it back up, run the test again. It says, well, if you didn't find the problem there, then replace the pressure manifold switch. It's like, all right. So I replaced the pressure manifold switch in the transmission, brand new transmission. Put it back in, put the fluid back in it, start up, boom, that's fixed. Awesome. Well, we get done with that. We noticed it's got another coolant leak in it. After we fixed the one coolant leak on the flywheel housing, found another leak coming from the front. And there's this little hose that goes in between the turbo feed and the bypass pipe on a Duramax. It's only about that long, and that thing was just leaking like a sieve. It was drip, 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 drip. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So we call him back, say, hey, look, you got another leak. We fixed one leak. Well, now we got this leak we got to fix. He's like, okay, fix it. All right, so we fixed it. So all this because I need to do the fast learn on the transmission. The transmission won't be right unless you do the fast learn on it. So you get that all done. That part of the transmission's fixed. Boom, I got another one. And I'm like, okay, what's this code? And it said shifter input error or shifter input switch voltage low, which is the shifter on the button on the shifter for your up down. I was like, okay, so I started chasing that down, pulled the connector off the bottom of the column, measured the resistance. I got no resistance. I'm like, well, there's a problem. And I got to looking at it, and right where it goes through one of the loops, the wires are bare right there. And I'm like, I bet that some bitch is broke. So I investigate a little further. Sure enough, it's broke. So he needs a shifter handle, because the tow haul didn't work right either. So I said, hey, you need a shifter. It won't let me program it because the shifter's not doing. So okay. So we put a shifter in it. That fixed that problem. No more transmission codes. So I try to do the fast learn again. It won't let me do it because there's fault code present. Okay, what's fault code? It's in the engine. Well, okay, so it's a P003A for turbocharger vane position not learned. I'm like, okay. So I do some tests. I pull the sensor out of the top of the turbo, because these Duramaxes, kind of like the Fords did, use variable geometry turbos. In other words, they can change the vane position in the turbo, make it a big turbo for upper end power, and make it a small turbo for low speed throttle response and all that good jazz. And so I try to do the relearn position that says position already learned. I'm like, okay, so this thing is reading like 56%. And so I try to command it to 100% or 0, one of the two, either way. And the most I could get out was 63%. So it'd go between 57% or 56% and 63%. So the freaking vanes are stuck in the turbo. Well, here's the thing. He never mentioned anything about that, but I guarantee that's what the problem was, and that's why his transmission burned up. It's because he didn't want to pay diagnosis fee. So without that, without the mass airflow getting the correct readings from the intake airflow, because the turbo was screwed up, it burnt the transmission up. And the transmission was burnt. I mean, the fluid was bad shape in this thing. It was in bad shape. So, I mean, yeah, it probably needed a turbo. It needed a turbo probably before it needed a transmission. It just frustrates me because I've been fighting trying to get rid of this truck, and something else is broke on it. And this, like I said, this thing's got 350,000 on it. So before we left, the cabs are ready to pull off it. We're going to pull the cab on it because that's the easiest way. And with that many miles on it, guaranteed something's going to break. So better off just pull the cab off, be able to get to what we need to get to on the turbo, and be done with it that way. Oh, I know. I'm going to block this dude. All right, get rid of that dude. Yeah. Yeah, you're right on electronic parts, Brian, for sure. Yeah, I don't even know why. I guess this guy's been a regular customer at our shop, and I don't usually work on the Duramaxes. Usually Steve does. I mean, I used to work on them all the time in another dealership before I did transmissions. But I let the diesel guy do the diesel stuff, and I stick with the transmissions. And so it's not my normal realm of things to do, but yeah, yeah, yeah. It ends up being my turbo was fine. Now, this guy actually understood uh, when the service advisor explained it to him. He goes, "Oh, well, that makes perfect sense." I'm like, "Oh my god!" And this is one of these guys that's kind of impatient, and I think he's got a little bit of dementia going on. I'm not sure on that, but some of the things that he said, I mean, just kind of weird. But um, yeah, I'd done plenty of turbos on 6-liter Fords. I don't know what's up with these spammers all of a sudden, but we're gonna just do that, and bye bye. Um, it really is nice when they do understand, but I think that the turbo had probably been failing before, and he was up in the mountains, and he said he was pushing it pretty hard. Um, he was up in the mountains up in Tennessee. By Felicia. Who's Felicia? Yeah, I mean that's and I think that that's probably what this guy's was doing, and he didn't realize it. I mean, this truck's really in good shape for the year. I mean, it's been a Florida truck most of its life. I mean, there's no rust on this thing whatsoever. Yeah, right. Um, but a lot of people don't understand. You hit on a good point, Brian. But the mass airflow on a GM car is so important because it has a big influence on what the transmission does. Because that's how it reads load on the engine and adjusts the line pressure in the transmission accordingly. And it does the same thing for an Allison. It's just on a bigger scale. It, but anyway, I mean, he probably could have saved a bunch of hassle if we would have known that ahead of time. And it's kind of frustrating because you want to get rid of this truck so you can move on to something else. Um, it's getting to the point where I don't like doing the big jobs anymore, just for the fact that it's just killing me on getting anything labor time done. So yeah, I'll be honest with you, I'm about at wit's end for doing dealership work anymore. And I'm getting to the point in my life where I'm getting old enough to where that's I don't know, maybe close to time for me to hang up doing it for a living. I still do it as a hobby on the side because something I'd love to do. And to be honest with you, I love doing the YouTube thing for actually trying to teach somebody something or at least spread the knowledge. I mean, I'm no teacher, and I'm not perfect by any means. It's just how I've learned to do some things that may not always be right, but the outcome is the same. And I usually somehow come to the right conclusion. So, excuse me. But yeah, Ray Bestis makes a lot more stuff for the 6L80 than I even knew. Look at there. They got an extra rebuild kit. I've actually got an overhaul kit out there in the shop. Oh, nice. Man, they got a fantastic, super clear picture of the 6L80 breakdown. That's pretty neat. Pretty neat. I mean, that's the clearest breakdown picture. That's even clearer than GM's got. That's sad. That's great. Wonder what they got for the. Wonder if they got anything for the. Oh, I had a 2-mode hybrid in there a couple of weeks ago. First one I've ever had to work on, and it came in with plugged up filter. It had something failing on the inside. And I basically put filters in it to try to get some pump pressure. They got GPZ friction modules for the 8L90. That's pretty neat. Hybrid technology friction clutch pack. I got some nasty clutches for the 8L90. Ooh, them are some bad dudes. Nice. Yeah, I had a. They call it a 2ML70. It's a 2-mode hybrid. It's got 2 motors inside of it. It's got like 4 clutch packs, a couple planetary sets in the rear tail housing section, which I think that's what failed on this thing, or was failing. But I mean, it had a lot of metal in the pan, and I told the guys, says, the only thing we can do is try to put some filters in it and some fluid, and see if it goes. This thing was nice too for a hybrid Tahoe. Thing was really nice. I mean, the guy took care of it. It's a damn shame that, because I'm sure probably what he ended up doing was taking it home and parking it. I would have loved to actually gone in and did something with it, because I've never had to do one, and I find it kind of interesting. I've really found it interesting, the fact that when I pulled the pan off of it, the Tecum, believe it or not, it had a Tecum in it. It looked real similar to the 6L80. Real similar. So I'd imagine that's where they come up with the idea for the Tecum on the 6L80 and 6L90, and the 6L45 and 6L50. By the way, while I've got you all on here, I've got a 6L45 out of a Cadillac ATS, like a 15 or something like that I'd love to sell. It's on Marketplace. I don't know if anybody out there drives one of them that needs one. But anyway, I don't remember what I was asking for it, but anyway, it's a baby 6L80 basically. But yeah, this hybrid. So I put filters in it, put some fluid in it, and drove it. And first and second gear was noisier and all get out. But it went through all the gears. So I drove it around for a good bit and didn't have any problem with it. And I told the guy, I was like, I don't know how far it'll make it, but he had to get back to Tennessee or something like that. Well, I guess he made it a couple 100 miles, and it laid down again on him. So he ended up having to get a trailer and get it towed the rest of the way back. But It made it a lot farther than I thought it would have, and I would have attempted to drive it. So I mean, as long as you're not towing anything heavy, I think what he did is he towed a boat that was way too big for that thing. They've got a max towing capacity of 6,000 pounds, I think it is. It's something really small. And I guess this guy had a big old flipping pontoon boat on the back. I mean, big pontoon boat. I think it was probably well over what the thing was rated to tow. And I think that just cooked it. But anyway, you didn't see many of those. I mean, they're out there. Problem is nobody aftermarket is rebuilding those, and you can't get a CERTA from GM, which is CERTA stands for Service Replacement Transmission Assembly, SRTA. So we just call them CERTAs. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. You know, I do like transmissions. I think they're the coolest thing. I enjoy them quite a bit. I just don't enjoy them doing them for a dealership anymore. Yeah, I talked to a buddy of mine that he used to work for me when I had my shop. And we talked last night on the phone. Holy crap, we talked for 3 hours. We hadn't talked to each other in a while. And we were talking about oh crap, you believe I just lost my train of thought. Gotta tell to get old. I don't even remember what the conversation was started about. All right, Brian, you have a good night. Thanks for chiming in and thanks for coming by. Yeah, right. Right. Have a good night, brother. I got to get some more to drink. So hold that thought. So who else is still out there in YouTube land? Man, that's good stuff. So I shared something on my Facebook feed, and no, not going to talk about that. Keep it free of that stuff. So let's see, what else have I got going on? Well, I've decided that I think I'm going to replace my little landscape trailer I got. And I might be buying a bigger trailer. I'm trying to buy one that my boss has got up there. He never uses it. In fact, I think the last 4 years that I've been there, I've been the only one that's used it, and I've used it twice. And decided it's something that I really could use. I need something a little bigger for moving these cars around. I'll put a winch on it. So I got a way to pull these cars up on it. Luckily, I was able to use the tractor to push old Charlie up on there, because I didn't know how I was going to get that up on that trailer. But man, it just pushed it right on up that ramp. And I was like, well, hell yes. Worked pretty good. But I'm really anxious to get some time to get to work on Scarlet. If I can get this door cut in my shop to where I can get Scarlet in the shop, I would be freaking tickled to death, because I'd have light in there that I could work, and I could start doing some stuff in there, and it wouldn't have to be. I can do stuff at night, because sometimes I do my best work at night, when I don't have to worry about running out of light because it's outside. You know what I'm saying? But I really want to get that donor running. I want to know if that engine runs. Depending on what kind of condition it's in, I may end up using it. Just put a little better heads on it and better camshaft, and down the road we go. Again, I'd have to find somebody that can burn me a chip. I might get a hold of that same guy that's doing that did L to the W's. I don't remember what the heck L to the W bought all the chip burning thing. He just sent a file back and forth. Which would be an ideal way to do it. I guess there's a Tuner RT Pro you can get to work on the older OBD1 systems. I hear you. I know. Are you sure? Uh-huh. Is that right? Yep. But I think that's what L to the W was using, was Tuner RT Pro. To do the live stream data And that'd be pretty cool. Pretty cool setup. I don't know if you all have ever had, I've got this, there's my dog down there. She is, she's like a blonde retriever. You know, instead of a golden retriever, she's a blonde retriever. And if you know anything about these breeds, they're kind of a needy dog. They require a lot of attention. She's no exception to that rule. But she's a good girl. She really is. Man, she was hard to housebreak, and I think she still has a problem now and then, but she's a good girl. But yeah, I'm anxious. I'm anxious for this year. I really am. I'm hoping things are going to clear up and be better. I'm going to try to be more optimistic and I don't know. I just got a good feeling that maybe this year will be the year that everything will lay in place, all the stars will align, and could be totally off base. Who knows? But I got to give a shout out to everybody that, well, I mean, there's not many people that get on the live stream like this to look or to follow or anything like that. But for those of you that are here today, I want to say thank you very much for being subscribers. Even if you're not a subscriber, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. You know, I think I'm a little over 2,300 subscribers now, which it just simply baffles me to death. And I feel bad that I haven't been able to get more content out to you guys. Just such is life, you know. One of these days, everything will fall in, and I'll actually have more time, you know. I really like doing it, but I couldn't make a living off of this. I really couldn't. The only way it would work is if somebody came along and said, "Hey, we want you to do your thing full time, and we'll pay you this much a month and to do it." I'm like, okay, sign me up. How was you know, you listen to these things that show up on the shorts, or it's on TikTok or something like that. I don't actually have a subscription to TikTok. I've heard bad things about it, so I don't get on it. But they had one in there. I like to watch the ones that Shaq do, and that dude is smart, very smart. Not only was he a good ball player, but he's freaking smart. He knows how to manage money. He knows how to make money. He's smart. And that's what's intrigued me about the guy. And he was talking about, you know, he said, you know, we like to go out to eat and have a good time. And you know, he said, you know, I tell the waiter, says, you know, depending on how fast you can get the food out here too, is that, you know, how well your tip is. And he said, I've always been known to be a big tipper. And so when the waiter came back, food come out pretty quick, and then they were all done and everything. And he goes, okay. So he asked the waiter, so how much do you want for a tip? Well, the waiter jokingly put said $4,000. He whipped out $4,000 and he gave him a $4,000 tip. Man, that guy, for one, carrying that much money in your pocket at one time, holy crap, must be nice. I'll be lucky to have $4 in my pocket. But it's interesting, I'll just try to watch some of the people. I've been watching a lot of these financial gurus. Every one of them's got different opinions about what the economy is going to do and this and that and what have you. And, what happened as of January 1st with the IRS thing. I don't know how much weight that holds. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Stephen. I've been scraping everything I got. They say lemonade's not good for your teeth, but that sure tastes good. Now she's just back there watching me. No, she's not going to bite me, Stephen. She'll just talk to me. Yeah, I've been scraping pennies together and doing what I can. I got so many things that need to be fixed. I broke down and bought. I've been putting it off. Like I said, I've been saving my pennies. I broke down and bought a new gate system. A brand new system. I'm tired of farting with it. I actually had a little extra money, and I went ahead and spent the green and bought a new system. So I get my automatic gate back working again. I'm going to change a few things. So I'm going to get a ground rod to stick in the ground and make an earth ground. I don't know what size I need, but I know it's not going to be 5 amps. It doesn't have to be very big. But I'm going to put a ground rod in it. Do it the right way since they didn't seem to know how to do it. I did. I still bought another LiftMaster. Hey, Mike, what's going on, buddy? Still bought a LiftMaster. Yeah, I'm going to do a video on it. I bought the newer version of the gate system that I've got now. Mine's just an LA400. This new one is an LA400 DC, which has got the newer style board in it. Supposedly it's got the arm looks identical, just a different casing. Yeah, it's got black casing and stuff, and it comes with a anti-entrapment sensor now, which is part of code that I'll have to put in. Well, I may not have to, because there's nowhere that you can really get trapped on my gate. So technically I wouldn't have to put it in there. And I may not. Just get the gate working again would be nice. But it's got a better transmitter, receiver style deal. And I guess it's, from what I've been reading, it's also, excuse me, you can also get an app on your phone. You could see what your gate's doing via your phone. So it does have solar capability and all that good jazz. But, I figured I'd get this thing in before the rainy season starts too. And oh, good deal, Mike. I mean, you couldn't go wrong if it had an engine and a transmission just replaced in it. I mean, other than that, those Colorados are really decent little trucks. I like that one better than I do the new ones by a long ways. I can tell you that. I am just not a fan of the powertrain that they put in these new ones. They're just a pain in the can, especially if you have to pull a transmission out of one that's got a V6 in it. Oh, they're terrible. Absolutely terrible. But the old Colorado 5-cylinders were decent running. They make good torque too. They run really pretty good. But yeah, I can remember when I worked. What's up, Jose? Yeah, $4,000 for a tip. It cracks me up. Yeah, they are. They are decent to drive. They really are. They're a pretty solid little truck. And here comes the spammers again. So we'll just report that one. When I was working up at, it used to be Adams Chevrolet up in Belton, Missouri. We had gotten, one of the Chiefs trainers had one of those Colorado Extremes, which those are a good looking truck. It was an extended cab, I think it was. I don't think it was a crew cab. It was an extended cab, but it was lowered a little bit. Had some, from the factory, had big wheels and tires on it. And I guess this old boy did a 4-wheel drift into a curb and bent the frame. And so we had to put a frame under this truck. I mean, there's no other damage other than the fact the frame was bent. Frame was bent and needed to have a couple wheels replaced. But me and this other buddy, other guy that I worked with up there, he and I tag teamed it. And between the two of us, we had the body off of this thing in 45 minutes. It was crazy. It was cool how the thing was put together. I mean, it's basically a unibody truck on a steel frame. And it was, that's what makes it a decent truck. I think I had a conversation. Well, it may have been last week that we had the conversation, but you can get those with a V8 in them. They had a factory 5.3 option on the later years before they discontinued them. They started offering them in V8s, which there's a guy up there that comes in our shop occasionally. He's got a standard cab, short box that looks like it's got the old hybrid wheels on it, hybrid Tahoe wheels. They're 16s, and he's got some low profile tires on it. And this thing's got a 5.3 and it's just clean as clean can be. I mean, it had to have been from the factory that way because, I mean, everything is neat and tidy and in its place. Yeah, they did have a Z71 option. I never really talked to a lot of people that had the 4-wheel drive ones. Most of them were 2-wheel drive. There was 4-wheel drive options, and they seemed to work pretty decent. But for the most part, that was mostly an Isuzu truck that they badged as a Chevrolet, and because it was a Isuzu Hombre is what they called that side of it. But they were good trucks. I'd always kind of wanted one to drive around. I'd like just to have a regular 2-wheel drive short bed pickup just to drive as a daily instead of the Honda. But the Honda's reliable as all get out. I'm just trying to keep it nice so we have something nice to drive, like if we want to go out to eat or something like that. But I'm perfectly content in a beater. If I can get Scarlett running, I'll probably drive in on a daily basis. Don't buy them to sit. Don't build them to sit. Guy texted me back on that Tuneport motor. He was asking 800 for it, and he just texted me back, says he'll take 650 for it. Now it seems kind of high for one with just a 305. Just answered that. Kind of curious if there's any of them out there. Yeah, in fact, here's a 2012 Z71 Colorado down in Chiefland that's actually got the V8 option in it. Got 53,000 miles on it. Interesting. That's a lot of money, though, to always asking for it. Here's just a standard cab one. Wow. He's wanting astronomical money for that. He wants to trade. That's crazy. Apparently they're holding their value pretty decent too. Here's one with 240K on it. The guy still wants $3,000 for it. Whew. That is crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Two-wheel peel with standard cab. There you go. My gal pal's selling me this one for $100 a month for $8,000. 12-minute. Interesting. I can't beat that, especially if it's a northern truck. Nothing wrong with that at all. It's man, I look at these prices that people are asking for these used ones anymore, and they're just off the chain. You know, and then everybody's on the third gen gang now, where people are asking astronomically for just pure crap. I was fortunate to buy mine at a decent time and a decent price. Now that same one, that something similar to what I've got, people are wanting $1,200 and $1,500 for a non-running car. Like, you got to be kidding me. I had to stop by the painter that's going to paint my paint Scarlet. He used to work with him, and yeah, that's pretty high for Super Duty too. I delivered his transmission and his 2 transfer cases that I built for him, and he's working for a guy here close in town, C10 shop guys or something like that. They do just basically half-ton pickups, custom pickups, and he's got some nice ones there that have been lowered and did C-notch, and I mean, there's this one there that's just sharp, standard cab, short bed pickup, and man, it looked good. But he's got a third gen on a trailer, and Harry told me he was wanting like $3,500 for this car, and this car is rough. Pop the hood and the freaking engine's in pieces. Water pumps off of it. I think the timing cover was off of it. Just parts laying everywhere. It's incomplete. Non-running car. The interior's bad shape. It's trashed. It's been repainted, and it was really crappy job. And he says, "Oh, that's a rare car. It's Z28 with a hard top and blah 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 blah." And I'm looking at it. The RPO sticker's missing out of the console, and I look at it. It's got drum brakes in the rear, which means it'll be a 273 car. It might have a 308 in it because it is a 350, but I kind of doubt it. It's probably a 273 car. It's got red interior. Console's trash. Dash is trash. Seats are trashed. Like I said, it's a straight car, but it's got some rust coming through pretty good. It's got a terrible repaint job on it. And the guy's wanting like $3,500 for it. I looked at Eric. I told him, I says, "Dude, this is a $500 car all day long. It is not worth $3,500. And I venture to say he won't get that out of it. He says, "Well, this guy will get it out of it. He's good about it." I was like, no. I mean, it's just, but says, "Yeah, if you want $3,500 for it, you can throw the trailer in too. That's worth it." So the trailer's pretty nice that he's got on it. It's a tilt trailer, tilt bed trailer. It's pretty sharp. but $500 all day long, that's all it's worth. I hope to God he didn't pay over that when he bought it. Well, that's for sure. That's for sure. Well, y'all, I've enjoyed tonight as I usually do, but I'm pooped. It's 20 to midnight here, and I'm tired. I want to go to bed, so I want to thank you all for coming by. I really do appreciate it. Thank you all for being subscribers, watching my channel, watching these BS rant or things with me and on Saturday nights that just me babbling for the most part, but I really enjoy it. So y'all make sure to take care of yourself, take care of each other. God bless you, and God bless America. Bye-bye.